So this is a bit of an impromptu video. Right now you're looking at the SS United States leaving its dock in Philadelphia. It's heading down to Mobile, Alabama to be stripped where necessary and remediation efforts be done to make it into a viable ship to be sunk as an artificial reef, the largest artificial reef in the world. Um, Now, the SS United States, beyond being the namesake ship for the United States, it is an ocean liner. It's basically one of the last ocean liners. Um, in a sense, it held the world, or still holds the world record for fastest transatlantic ocean liner crossing, the Blue Ribbon. Um, it is a still existing piece of legacy travel that doesn't really exist anymore. You take an airliner across the ocean. You're heading from New York to London. You take a 777. You don't take, a boat. It's just not how it is anymore. Um, and that whole era of the, ocean liners, the great ocean liners, especially the early half of the 20th century, the SS United States dates back to the 50s, had a nice long career. Um, a level of opulence that, while there can be some issues with the culture of the time, there's a certain aesthetic that just has a beautiful charm to it. I mean, look at this wide shot of that ship. The absolutely beautiful, incredible engineering. Um, but the fact remains, she's been out of service for decades, mostly just slowly rotting away in that pier. And there's been efforts to save her, to convert her into something, a museum piece, all kinds of anything you can think of seems to have been come up with between completely retrofitting and setting her back out as an ocean liner, as a alternate kind of cruise ship in a sense, to floating casinos and all that jazz, and just none of it came to fruition. The money's just not there. And that's something people always forget, is that the sheer cost of doing these things, as practical as it may seem to do, is usually just not worth it. So this ends up being her fate. She's going to be towed out after the remediation work is done to the Gulf of Mexico. I'm going to keep calling it that. Um, Inside of one of the counties in Florida, I forget which one, and be sunk to be an artificial reef. Now, I wouldn't normally make a video like this just on this event. It's not my style. I intend to get to it. I usually would save this kind of stuff for my written word, but I feel like this may, I want this to catch as many people as it can, my feelings on this. Because while I don't have any direct connection to this ship, I do care greatly about it. As I said, I think it's a beautiful piece of machinery that we built. Elegant, beautiful piece that I would love to see restored and continue sailing. But the reality just isn't that. And back a few months ago, when all of this was first discussed, when this became a thing that the news and the communities had picked up on, there was a lot of vitriol against it, which I can understand. I can understand hating the idea that this is going to be the ship's fate. But at the same rate, you go through stages of denial. You eventually, I would think, as a reasonable, well balanced person, would come to accept it. But a lot of people in the fan community around this ship didn't come to accept it. They were extremely hostile about the idea, vitriolic. Um, and I say this from firsthand experience. I was in a Facebook group on the SS United States. Loved seeing people's pictures, loved seeing the stories, loved getting, pictures of her laid up in the dock. Just seeing it, just, getting to be a part of that community was nice, was a great appreciation of the history, of the beauty. And then the news came that she was sold for, I think, 10 million to be scrapped, like, not scrapped like this, to be scuttled like this, and people were outraged. I did a little thinking on it, and I had come to a conclusion and made a post saying that, honestly, given what's been going on, the literal decades of nothing happening and it just slowly rotting away in the dock, that this is the best option for her, and that I think it's more fitting for her to become a part of the ocean where the vehicle spent its life. Granted, it's the Gulf of Mexico versus the Atlantic proper, but still, it's the world's oceans. She's a ship. That's what she's supposed to be on water, in water. It's the place where ships, if they're going to be gone, that's the most fitting thing, I think. Um, the idea of her becoming a part of the ocean and being home to life on the ocean became a beautiful thought to me, very poetic. A lot of people weren't having it. They would literally rather see it scrapped. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you'd rather see the steel recycled and turned into whatever consumer grade junk just to be trashed down the line. Nobody realizing that the metal that this or that thing is made of happened to be, the blue ribbon, once the blue ribbon holder, fastest ocean liner in the world. You know, it seemed almost disgraceful. But they didn't see it that way. And I had to leave. I had to leave the community. I had to be like, just fuck it. This isn't what I signed up for. Um, and I get being upset. I'm upset deep down that this is the eventual fate, but anyone who paid attention knew this stuff was coming. And even I, as a relatively recent person to gain interest in the ship, it's only been a couple of years maybe, I began to realize that there was very little hope. Just maybe level of pragmatism, level of realism with stuff, I don't know. And as I said, as much as I would love to see something else happen, that's just not going to be the case. Um, and I'm fine with that. She's still going to exist on the seabed. And to me, that's beautiful. But if people want to be hostile about that, they want to get angry over this, then that's their problem. And like so many communities, so many subcultures, if your attitude's going to be that actively hostile, that negative, not to say critical of an idea, you could be critical of something. You could feel other options would be better. I would certainly have rather seen her, honestly, retrofitted and sailing again. But I know in practicality that's not going to happen. But if you're going to be, 60, 70 years old, and I get having memories on the ship. Some of these people did travel on her. I get having a bit of an attachment. But to be of that age and have this kind of vitriolic reaction to anyone who tries to express a level of poetic beauty in this fate, it's just childish. I expect better from people of that age and to be as cultured as some might say, to have such an interest in something like this ocean liner. Um, but in the end, it is what it is. It doesn't affect my life at all in the grand scheme. It doesn't affect their lives at all for the most part. A few people, maybe. People in Philadelphia, yeah, they won't see it in that dock anymore. And that's kind of sad. I would have loved to have gone and seen her, but not going to happen, and that's okay. That's the thing about life. You have to learn to accept things. You have to learn to grow past things, and things always change. Nothing lasts forever, and this is just a fine example of that. The ship was built. She served well. Times changed. She got preserved as best she could be, sitting in that dock for decades, waiting for some kind of future to happen, but it just never did. And that's just the fate of it. So, farewell, SS United States. I know you've still got a while being stripped and then positioned to actually be sunk, and I'm sure that's going to be a beautiful spectacle. Tragic, but beautiful. Um, but again, I'm happy to know that that structure, that beautiful piece of engineering, will still exist at the bottom of the ocean, bottom of a seabed, and will be home to life. It's not so much the death of a ship, but more of a new beginning. I find that beautiful. But that's enough of me rambling. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. Um, Catch y'all next time.